Bub Carrington, aka Carlton Carrington, is the player we're going to do the NBA draft scouting report for today. First off, I have an issue. If your name's Carlton, that's a cool enough name. I think you should keep that. I know some people have said it's a nerdy name. I think it's great. But if you are going to go by a nickname, Bub's a pretty great one. Give me your overview just generally of Bub Carrington, the player, Brian.
Very solid. And I think it's easy to see him in an NBA type of game. He's really good in the pick and roll, really good off the bounce. He's comfortable with the ball in his hand. And you can tell he's really good at reading defenses, making the right play. He's got an array of floaters and mid range finishes, solid around the rim. Inconsistent 3-point shot, but he has, I think, NBA level shot creation abilities. You hope some of the more of the shot making comes, but he was playing an NBA style at Pitt, which is why I think we saw his draft stock rise so quickly during his freshman season.
Yes, it was kind of, I don't know. It was like the first 2 weeks of the season, I remember being like, oh my God, you got to watch this NBA guard for Pitt. And then the
Yeah.
season would go in stretches where it's like, well, what did Bub do? Oh, he's kind of struggling right now. And I thought as the season went on, I thought it would be more and more likely he would come back to college. And ultimately
I
he
did
didn't.
too.
And I don't think it's a bad decision by him by any means, but just maybe a surprising one given the way the end of the season finished up and his team's season finished up compared to how it started. But really fun
Mhm.
player. Guy, I won't be surprised if he's good in the NBA. And let's get to our categories. What is one word to describe Bub Carrington?
I said projectable because, again, watching him play, he played like an NBA guard. So it's easy to see where he's going to, I think, have success in the NBA and where he's going to struggle or the potential roadblocks for him reaching his full potential. I think he's fine in the pick and roll. He's fine making reads. It's how consistent can he be with everything else.
I said Bub because it's Bub. Like if you have a one word nickname, the only word I can describe it is Bub. Come on. He's Bub. He's just Bub, man. He's awesome. And if you watch Bub, you'll agree with me. Like that's Bub. That's all we can describe him with. Is he more likely to hit his floor or his ceiling?
I think he's more likely to hit his floor. And you kind of brought up the later season struggles, or not performing to the level he was at earlier in the season. That does concern me. Like I don't know if he's ready. I get the decision to come out now because this is a weak draft. This is your chance to become a first round pick and hold on to that without as much competition, maybe as you might get next year or the year after. But I don't know if he's ready. A lot of his really good games, particularly early on in the season, were against lesser teams. Let's say like teams that Pitt should beat. And he did what he was supposed to do. He played at a really, really high level. You certainly can't take that away from him. But his better performances were against like the Binghamtons of the world and the Fort Waynes of the world and some of those lesser teams, as opposed to having the dominant impact you would hope he'd have against Duke, North Carolina. And that I think concerns me somewhat. There's a bit of a freshman wall that you hit. Obviously, I understand that, but that has me thinking he's probably closer to his floor than his ceiling in the NBA.
I also went floor. I agree with you. I just think there's a long line of point guards really in the NBA that if you're not a star, it doesn't work out. It's the hardest position. I've said this on a couple other videos. Like you can be a big wing and not be great and still play in the league because you need big bodied people who can guard. If you're a point guard that needs the ball in his hands and you're not great and you're not dynamic, you probably find yourself out of the league pretty quickly. There's been a bazillion great college point guards that just don't work out in the league. I think that's a much more likely outcome than Carlton Carrington becomes like a superstar in the NBA. What is
Yeah.
the best team fit for Bub?
The Raptors. I think they have the first pick in the second round. They one need point guard depth badly, and two have shown the ability to develop backcourt players. Just as an organization, I think that's a good spot for him to land both with opportunity and development.
I went with the Spurs. They're not going to take him in the first round, obviously, but if there was some way for him to stumble his way to San Antonio, maybe at pick 35, I think it would give him an opportunity alongside talented players on a team that needs a point guard. And that's probably the best case option for him to stick is like, you don't have to be our star, but we can use you because we need a ball handler to be a primary guy. And Wemby would certainly make his life really easy. I feel like he is one. There's a lot of guys who've gone through it. I don't think fit matters too much. For Bub, I think fit matters massively. Like he needs to land on a
Yeah.
team that will give him opportunity, that has talent around him. And if he doesn't, it could end very quickly. What does the best season of his career end up looking like statistically?
10, 5, and 5. 10 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists. I think this is going to be more of being on a bad team and putting up some empty stats than anything else for Bub. But he, I think, is well rounded enough to hit those 10, 5, and 5 marks.
I went 6 points, 3 assists. I think I'm lower on him than you are as we project where this is actually going to land. Yeah, I don't think a team's going to give him the chance realistically, unless he lands in the perfect opportunity. We'll see. In 5 years, where is he? He could be all NBA. He could be an all-star, a starter, bench guy, G League, overseas, or a podcaster.
I have him in the G League and probably bouncing up and down between G League and 10-day contracts in different places. I think at that point, he's probably off the team that drafted him. And so he's kind of floating around in this no man's land, hoping to catch on somewhere. Which again, point guard is tough because there's a lot of point guards and a lot of good point guards in the NBA, in college, coming up through the high school ranks as well. So I think he's G League.
I said G League. I agree with everything you said. I have no additional commentary. You summarized my thoughts spectacularly. NBA draft superlative final category. Bub Carrington is the most likely player in this draft class to do what?
Drop his nickname and start going by Carlton. One, to show teams he has matured and he is a man now and doesn't go by childish nicknames anymore. Also, if he does well, I think people are going to start addressing him as Carlton because it's fun and he'll just drop the Bub.
I said have a 10-0 run in the Rising Stars game. That's what I said. Like, the Tim Hardaway Jr. game where he was
Young Waiters back and forth.
Yeah, just a lights out. You've got to see what Bub did. And then, like, he's never heard from again. But we'll always have that Rising Stars moment. I could 100%. He has the flair for it. He has the skill for it. And he needs to be, if he'll shine in an unserious basketball setting. I think that'll work out nicely. Hey, we have a bunch of these videos, 75 of them leading up to the draft. Go watch them. The NBA draft is coming up, and I've got something awesome for you. We are partnering with the people at NBA 2K Lab. NBA 2K is the best video game on earth. The people at 2K Lab are making some awesome stuff to make that game even more fun, and they just launched their 2024 NBA Draft Simulator, where you can find the official Sleepers Media Big Board. We ranked our top 75 players in this draft class. Me, Carter, Brian Ralph, Riley Davis. We did it together, and it is featured on the 2K Lab NBA Draft Simulator. You can take control of any team in the draft, play GM with just one click, and see our entire rankings before these videos even come out. Check out the link in the description of this video to try out the draft sim for yourself, and you can find more mini games at nba2klab.com/NBA-mini-games.